What's up, you beauties? Welcome to HW Hockey, episode 23, season 8. I'm your host, Jim Icavone, joined as always by Jack Smith. If you're catching us on YouTube, make sure you do us a favor. Our like goal for the episode is 100 likes. If you enjoy the content for the next hour, do us a favor, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, help us out. I think we're like 35 subscribers from 2,000, which was unthinkable just a month ago. So we have a lot to get to during the show tonight. And if you're watching on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, wherever, head over to YouTube, help us out. And you can find the episode, obviously, on Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. A lot to get to. It's been kind of a roller coaster of a week for the Flyers. A lot of highs, a lot of lows. We're going to get to, let's get the topic list up real quick here. Spend some time making it. Might as well use it if I can find it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, Jack, a lot of great stuff to get to. And now I'm not seeing this thing.
Now it's all black. It was good in the before we went live.
Yeah, a lot of great topics to get to this week. Well, I'll find. Here it is. I got it. All right.
Hey, here we are.
All right. So Flyers currently 17-9-6, 40 points. I think they're fourth in the Eastern Conference. Fourth in the Eastern Conference. If it was still 1 versus 8 style setup, the Flyers would be hosting. They would have home ice advantage in the first round of the playoffs. I know we're not even at the halfway point yet, but we're close. We're getting there. And the Flyers are fourth most points. They're 4 points out of first in the division and the Eastern Conference. A couple of tough losses over the weekend to the top team. We'll get to that. 2-0-3 in their last 5. Yeah, it's not pretty, but it could be worse. It also could be better. And that kind of leads us into, the topics number 7 and 8 that we're going to get to later on in the episode. You can see there, ole, Jack. Nice big win. Hopefully our Montreal buddies that kind of check in from time to time.
I hope so.
Check in tonight. I have a feeling that they won't. But, if they have any guts, they'll show up in the chat tonight.
With that guy who was talking smack on Mishkov, I would like to see him back in here.
Yeah, exactly that guy. We have. Well, let's start. Let's get down to business here. So let me try a new view. This way you could see our sparkling, shiny faces here. And let me take this off. And we're ready to go.
Hey, yo.
Okay. So, Jack, let's kind of start out. Let's start from the top here. Well, let's go over the kind of last week. We don't have to dissect each game. But I think last week we both kind of were thinking, all right, the Flyers are going to go 2-1-1, something like that over the next 4 games or so. They had a game versus Vegas. They had a weekend split, weekend series, home and home with Carolina. And then they obviously had Montreal last night. And I think you and I were a little bit more optimistic, maybe like a 2-1-1, something like that kind of thing. And the Flyers end up going 1-0-3. Which I don't think anybody really thought was going to happen, especially the way that they've been playing in shootouts. I think, did they lose to Vegas? They lost to Vegas in overtime, right? Was that the Konechny miscue?
Yes, that was the overtime loss.
Okay. So, you lose to Vegas at home in overtime. It sucks to lose in overtime, especially to Vegas. I thought the Flyers were going to pull that one out, but they get a point. We move on, right? The 2 big games were against Carolina, because if the Flyers could steal 3 out of 4 points, they'd be a point or 2 out of first place right now, which is insane. Instead, they somehow lose both games in the shootout. Trevor Zegras went 0-2. I think Michkov may have gone 0-2 as well. Anyway,
I think that
they had 0-3 there, Jack. Go ahead.
I'm not even convinced they scored. Maybe scored 1 shootout goal, if any, in both of those shootouts. Like, it was a rare, for how they've been all season. It was real rough for them. Like, they just were not scoring at all. I think one of them went into like the final round and it was 0-0, and we ended up losing. It's like, geez, like if we get 1, we probably win this thing, and we can't even get it. But it is what it is. The way I look at it, Jim, though, these are some tough teams. Vegas always in the thick of it. A couple years ago, Carolina's been knocking on the door forever. Also a division rival. You had an opportunity in these last 4 games. The most you could do is get 8 points. They got 5. That's not that bad when you look at it that way. When you look at how crazy the East is, it's like any points you get at all are going to be huge. Flyers also have a game or two in hand on most teams. So some people were very depressed because they technically lost 3 games in a row. And while it was disappointing while watching the game and upsetting, I was tallying, like keeping track. They're getting points in each of these games, and it's going to matter come, March, April even. And you bank some wins now, you bank some points now, even though you didn't come away with the victory. Now, Carolina's a team where, you're giving them 4 points. I don't think we're going to be really fighting for the top of the division. I think that's ultimately going to go to Carolina and probably New Jersey. Some teams will kind of jump in there, jump out, but I think it's going to come down to those 2 teams. So I'm not too concerned about giving points away. The other one was to Vegas. It's irrelevant. They're a Western Conference team. So we're just banking points here, creeping up the standings. We sit at 40 points. And as you can see, most teams have 32, 33, 34, in some cases 35 games played, and we only have 32. That's going to come in handy as well. And I am disappointed they didn't come away with any wins over these teams, and there were stretches in the periods where they didn't look good. Like one game they start off with a 2-goal lead, then they give it right back in the second period, and then it's a funny Grunstrom goal that keeps them alive in one game, and then the other game they go down 2-0 and they fight their way back. Like it's strange, but all that matters is the points at the end of the day if we're serious about making a playoff spot. And they got 5 out of 8, and that's not bad.
No, not bad at all, especially considering the opponents. And December's it was supposed to be a tough month for the Flyers, and it's proving to be a tough month. But so far, and we're halfway through the month, they're doing all right. 5-2-3 in their last 10. Not the prettiest, but it could be so much worse. That's points in 8 out of 10. All right, we're going to look at the positive side of things here. And while they do sit third currently in the division, 1 point out of second behind the Islanders. I don't know who predicted that. Yep. If we go by points percentage, and this kind of goes with what you were saying, they have games in hand. Flyers are second place by 0.22 percentage points there. So there's something happening here, and it's going to kind of tie in to our talk later on when we get to, is it time to buy, time to panic? What do we do here? Right? They got guys coming back they have a guy that's, now out for the rest of the year. Yeah. Which way do we go, Wayward son? Is it the fork in the road yet? I can't wait to get to that topic actually, because there's just so much going on, Jack. Like it's not really, in my opinion, cut and dry. So it should be a good conversation.
It's not. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll let you go.
It's just kind of moving on here. We'll get there because that's going to be, I think, a huge chunk. It's kind of 2 and 3 topics tied in. Yeah. All right. So 2-0-3 in the last 5. Flyers, they're on a 3-game losing streak. Points in all 3. They head up to Montreal, right? And Montreal games have suddenly become a lot of fun, right? I'm going to embrace the Montreal rivalry. As I said during our last episode, I'm going to play into it. I was kind of trolling some Avs fans last night and having a good time. They're fun. They're just as passionate about their team as we are about ours. So I'm going to lean into it. So every time the Flyers play the Habs or the Penguins or the Rangers, I'm going to lean into it. And so last night, Flyers go up to Montreal again. And in my opinion, they dominated. I know the shots were similar and Montreal had their chances, but if you're a Montreal fan watching that game, you had to be bored out of your mind, right? Like in my opinion, the Flyers controlled the majority of that game. And if you listened to the crowd during that game, they were bored. They hated what they were watching. They're smart fans up there. They know, oh man, we're going to lose tonight. So It was a all around, I think maybe a top 3, top 5 best game of the season for the Flyers. They went up there, dominated 1-4-1. Michkov got a nice little assist there. Bobby Brink, those two guys are kind of funny together. They had that little moment on the bench, just two little hobbits, kind of reminded me of just hanging out, being happy. So yeah, man, it's nice to get a win over Montreal. And that's the second one they've won up there. And I think we only play them 3 times this year. So the Flyers have won the season series over Montreal. What did you see last night that got you a little excited, Jack? Anything?
Well, it's funny that it took them so long again to they have to give up the first goal before they can get going. And it took the entire first period for Montreal to score, and then the Flyers scored 30 seconds later. And Grundstrom, man, somebody said it in the chat earlier, he's on a heater. Like, yeah, this guy's talking about a shot in the arm to the fourth line. My God. And now I think that game he was actually in the top 6. I mean, good for him, for a guy that was traded for a non-existent Ryan Ellis out of San Jose. It's not, it's not even like a team trying to shed cap who's going for it. It's a rebuilding team. Very strange, very odd. You showed us earlier in the year he had been playing well with the Phantoms, and he's just rolling, man. Like, I love that. Vladar is phenomenal. Like, that third period was ridiculous. Like, he was making saves left and right. That game could have been close and potentially, I don't want to say gotten out of hand, but they could have lost it in regulation, or maybe it goes to overtime or something like that. But he's making saves and making it look easy. And he's just, I'm not used to seeing this kind of goaltending. It's silly for us. I'm just not used to that. And he is such a godsend. That Michkov play, behind the net, stealing the puck. If you already hate Philly and then a goal like that, Michkov, Montreal fan, you're ripping at your hair. Like, you're just like, you got to be kidding me. You let that go in, and Michkov's the one who pickpockets you. Like, that drove them nuts. And then Zegras just keeps rolling, baby. You saw this. I don't know if you saw the stats on Twitter. He's already got more points than he did last year, all of last year. Played 57 games last year. What's he at this year? 20. He's got 20. 33 points. I think they played 32 games so far, something like that. So almost half the time. He's 2 goals away, or he's got 2 more goals this year than he did last year, and he's 1 assist shy of matching his season total for last year. He's on pace for 82 or more points. He's just been phenomenal, and he just continues to roll. Every time I see him get on the score sheet, whether it's an assist or goal or whatever, I'm like, damn, he did it again. He just keeps moving it. To which I'm going to say it. You've been saying it. We've been saying it. Sign that man. The only problem is that now Zegras is like, yeah, we'll talk. I think he knows now. I think now it's going to cost us. So
every time he puts up a point, 2 words pop into my head. You know what they are? Cha-ching.
Yeah.
Dude, he's cashing in this year. I don't blame him. Good for him, right? Like, that's what every athlete should be doing that. I assume, I know the Flyers came out and said they're not in contract talks. I don't think that's by the Flyers doing. I assume that they tried to get something done, same way maybe they were doing with Tippett. You could see early on, at least in my opinion, this was not going to be a fluke with Zegras. It just made too much sense. The more we got to see him play, his style of play, he's feasting. He's going to absolutely feast with some of the guys that they have on this team. And he's doing it with everyone, right? He and Dvorak's in top 5 scorers on a new team. They showed the stat last night. It was like Zegras, Marner, Peterka, and friggin' Dvorak is up there.
Former Canadian.
I'm sorry?
Former Canadian, Dvorak.
Former Canadian, yeah.
And just sticking it to him even more.
Yeah. And so, in my opinion right now, those 2 guys together, if you want to get somebody out of a slump, you put him with you put him with Zegras and Dvorak. And I think that's what they've done with Konechny. And it seems to be working out. It worked out with Tippett for a while. So it'll just be interesting to see. They have a pair, because usually when you put lines together, you don't need to find 3 guys with chemistry. You need to find 2. And that third guy should be able to feed off. You know what I mean? So They had that kind of with like a Cates and a Brink and a Cates and a Foerster, and they all just ended up gelling. And now they have that with a Zegras and a Dvorak. So, things are coming along, maybe a little bit slower or whatever, but there are games when this team's fun to watch. And I think at the very least, as fans, that's all you can ask for, And it turns out they're winning a few games, which no one's ever going to be upset about. Real quick, before we move on to the next thing, this is before I forget. Carl Grunstrom, who you mentioned came back for the ghost of Ryan Ellis. In 25 total games for the Flyers this year, Jack, for the Flyers and Phantoms, 19 points between the two. 4 points in 6 games since being called up to the Flyers. 15 and 19 with the Phantoms. This guy only had 9 points in 56 games last year combined for the Sharks. I don't know what the hell's going on, but this guy's playing in the top 6 last night. I think he took Michkov's spot on the line. They pushed Michkov down to play with Brink and who was the center? It was the Cates.
Yeah.
So there you go. Like, you put Michkov with a Cates and Brink, and all of a sudden, Michkov's getting some confidence there. There's something cooking. I would have liked to see them win 1 or 2 of those games that they lost in the shootout. That would have given me a little bit more confidence moving forward. But it was kind of a reminder that, like, hey, they are still in this rebuild stage kind of thing. And so, like, it's not all going to come at once. But maybe those wins against these top teams are coming down the road, So there's things happening, I guess, is the long story short there, right?
I mean, I don't know what people expected. Like, there's people who are upset about losing those games, like the season's over. Even if they don't make the playoffs, like what I'm seeing out of this team now, as long as it stays, it's like they've pretty much been in a playoffs position all year. Like, they really have. Like, and if they were to fall out, it'd be disappointing. But you lost Foerster for the year, which we'll get into. I don't know if they're going to even make any trades to bolster there. I think they're looking at most right now for some depth centers. But, like, you're not going to say, okay, we're going to try to win now, and you're suddenly a top dog in the league. Like, it just doesn't work that way. Like, you have to work your way up. And I've seen significant improvement from last year to this year. I know that anomaly 2 years ago has people thinking that maybe we should be better, but, like, we don't even have a majority of those players anymore. And it's a new coaching staff and everything. And it's just, that was what it was. And we're here now, and I'm not there. I have issues with things. And the whole Michkov thing is very disappointing. But, like, as far as everything else, like, I've seen Drysdale. Okay, look, they still need somebody at the top of for the power play. They still need somebody to run that power play properly. I think it's just nobody's really taking. We might see Risto step in soon, like, just because they're trying different things out of desperation. That's still an issue. We were hoping that'd be fixed. But, like, as far as defensively, like, all our defensemen, we have really strong defensive depth at the NHL level right now. Now with Risto coming back, like, we have a lot of options. Like, I couldn't have said that for this team for even when they were, playing with the Jake and G years. Like, I wouldn't have said that. Like, that's wild to me. You have a great goaltender right now. He's legitimately in the Vezina conversation. And then you got certain guys on offense who are holding it down for you, like Zegras for sure. Dvorak's been good. Konechny, he's coming around. He's getting his points, that's for sure. He might be the closer if he's just getting us empty netters, but they count too. Those are high leverage situation goals that you need to close out games. Just certainly some people we'd like to see a little bit more from, but if everybody was rolling, we'd be at the top of the league. So, like, I have so much more positive to talk about than I do negative. And it's like, God forbid, if Michkov was playing how he was last year, this year, how good is this team? And some people think he can't. And I think that's ridiculous. I think going forward, looking into next year, and he can get Tockett's trust. Give him this year to try to gain Tockett's trust, stop taking stupid penalties, and start getting some time in overtime. And although I did see him, he did pop out for a shift and more time in the third period. Because if you're in a tight game, he's not going to have you out there if he can't trust you. It is what it is. And he's been taking really stupid penalties. You can get that under wraps and maybe go into later this season, but especially next season with any more additions you add and keeping what you have now. I mean, the sky's the limit. Like, this is just a stepping stone. This isn't okay, we've acquired everything we need to acquire. We're going to go win a cup now. That's not what this is. I think people think it is, I guess. And when we lose to good teams, they're upset about that. And I'm disappointed, but I don't think it's like, oh, Briere's screwing up. He's completely done. And I don't know if we're going to talk about it, but the Flyers, if you haven't noticed, Jim, they're Quinless. We did not trade for Quinn Hughes. And you'd have thought like the Briere's plan is completely rubble now. Everything's collapsed because we didn't go get him. I'm sorry. It did not make sense for us to get him without an extension. If you wanted to roll the dice, you can make that, because of what I said about the power play, he would slot right in. That'd be perfect. But the assets, now that we know with assets it would have taken to get him, to give those up without a guarantee, to me is wild. We're not there yet. And I'm not worried about that. So I'm just looking at what they have and what they're doing, and key parts of this team that were so bad last year, particularly goaltending, having a star at the top of the lineup, Zegras, things like defense all around is a world leaps and bounds better. There's so much to be positive for this team going forward. Now, if you have an issue with some of the players and the prospects and their growth, that's a different conversation. As far as the direction the team is going right now, if you're complaining, you're just the definition of impatient, unfortunately, or a hater.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to what you were saying earlier there with because I thought it was interesting with Michkov. Hey, Dan Knightley re-signed the Dvorak, my boy.
Isn't he though?
I hope we get into that eventually too. But anyways,
yeah.
You were talking about Michkov, and I ended up having a short conversation with somebody on Twitter last night because somebody pointed out Michkov's 2 turnovers on the power play that pretty much directly led to shorthanded scoring chances for Montreal. Right. And if I'm a coach and I'm giving Michkov his power play time, yada, yada, and he's turning pucks over, what am I supposed to do? And then he's taking stupid penalties, yada, yada. I'll tell you what, though, that play he made to help the Flyers get that, I think it was the second or third goal there. That's what you want to see. That, because that's maybe a hustle play. Goalie's taking forever. You're going to sneak in the backside, create something out of nothing. But to me, look, if you're unbiased, which I think is really important, a lot of people don't realize that they're biased. Okay. And I try not to be biased because I think, we were all excited for Michkov when he came over. Right. And we still are. But I think it's one thing to criticize Couturier, Konechny, criticize whoever you want, and not criticize Michkov. That is bias, right? Regardless of how old he is. He's 20, 21. Mistakes are mistakes, right? And in my opinion, when you're younger, you haven't earned the right to make those mistakes and still get the ice time. Right. And people get upset. Well, why doesn't Couturier or Konechny get benched when they make mistakes? Well, when they were 20 and 21 years old, guess what? They were getting benched. Right. I know we don't remember because it was so far back, but what's fair is fair. He's going to go through. Michkov's going to be fine. If he crumbles because he's not getting 15, 16 minutes of ice time, he was never going to be a star anyway. He's going to be fine. I got no problems with Michkov. Even though he came in out of shape, yada, yada, he's going to be long-term. He's going to be fine. He's going to figure it out, So not worried, disappointed more than anything, I think. But he's coming along. So I just wanted to touch on that. He shouldn't be immune just because he will be the star of this franchise. Right now, he's not. He's not playing up to that expectation. So, what's fair is fair. Anyways, all right, Jack, where do we want to go from here? Who'd you just touch on at the end there? You were talking about Quinn Hughes a little bit. Let's get into the Quinn Hughes thing. So I think we were talking about Quinn Hughes earlier last week, and he was traded. Was it Friday? He was traded to Minnesota Friday, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely after our show last week. Yeah.
Zeev Buium. I'm forgetting this guy's first name. Liam Olin?
Yeah, I didn't really know that guy. Yeah.
Third guy, Marco Rossi, who everybody wanted here. And, I think a lot of people were calling Bill Guerin dumb for not just trading him for first, whatever, and a first round pick.
Yeah.
On paper, Jack, I mean, how do you think Vancouver did with that trade?
I mean, all things considered, I think they did pretty well. I mean, it depends on how you feel about the players individually. But if you look at it from a broad spectrum, like they got potentially something of a replacement for Hughes. I'm not saying he's going to be the same caliber. That's kind of wild. But Boehm is that kind of player, that defensive, offensive, defensive player. Like you got something like that. They wanted a center. They got a pretty decent center at Young, not a big guy, but they addressed in two needs right there. There were a potential replacement for Hughes and a center who's proven he can play at the NHL level in Rossi, which they wanted. And both players are obviously very young. I don't know much about I believe it's a prospect, correct? A player you had trouble remembering his name.
Yeah, Liam Ogren. So he's been around for a little while. He's still just 21 years old.
Yeah,
first round pick for the Wild, 19th overall.
Okay.
He's played 48 NHL games through 3-4 seasons now.
So another guy for your prospect pool. He's already playing. He's already moving along. He's made it to the NHL. That's great. He's former first round pick. There's something there. And a first round pick that's probably going to be in the 20s because of how Minnesota's probably going to do. I mean, with him wanting out of there and whatnot and all that, and how bad things were starting to get moving, I think they addressed a lot of their needs, and they got if Boehm and Rossi pan out, that's a nice move, all things considered, because you're not getting a top 3 defenseman back unless Boehm freaks out, but you got to take that risk. It's the only way you can even have it. So I think they addressed what they needed to address. They got some nice young players who have proven to be somewhat successful at the NHL level. Rossi more so than Boehm, but the skill is there. It's certainly there. So it's hard to imagine they do much better, in my opinion. It sounds like they tried some rumored deals, like with New Jersey, even Philly. Like we saw some of these potential deals, and for us at least, but holy cow. Like that's like way more than we thought. And it's closer to like the deals we put up a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about it, where we were, except for add Martone to like my deal of York, Foerster, first round pick, prospect. It's like, geez, that's a lot. And with no guarantee, I understand why they didn't do it. If this is June or July rather, and the Flyers don't get this done, and he was maybe considering it have to come with an extension, that's a different conversation. But where it sits today, to give up those kind of assets and then have him potentially walk, I understand you can flip him, but like give up Martone, Foerster plus, that's wild to me. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. For me, I was a little bit underwhelmed by the return. I think because I'm not crazy for Marco Rossi. Good player, obviously. He's putting up points. But I think he's just kind of a fill-in guy. They needed a second-line guy. They got a second-line guy. Will he, remains to be seen how he does in the playoffs when things get a little tighter, more physical, yada, yada. There's a reason why I think Guerin was looking to move him. Regardless, Ziv Bouyum, who, everybody and their mom, knows about and loves now. I loved watching him in college. Maybe he'll put up, 50, 60 points. I don't know if that he's going to be, maybe he could be the same type of player Quinn Hughes is. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say he can't be. To me though, he's still second line guy. And so I was a little bit underwhelmed. Like the late first round pick, right? Liam Ogren doesn't do much for me. He's like the project guy you get back. You know what I mean? So they get the player in Rossi, the 2C they were looking for. They get the Ziv Bouyum, the Quinn Hughes replacement, right? He's maybe just 5-6 years behind. So they, development time there, whatever. And then the project in Ogren and the first round pick. I was underwhelmed. But like you said, knowing that Quinn Hughes didn't want to sign there, maybe that was, it checked all the boxes for them. That's fine.
Yeah, I think it's a different conversation if they're able to try to trade him and negotiate an extension. I think the trade offers are significantly different, but they need to get him out of Dodge. It was looking bad. So you're kind of,
Yeah,
I think
he's starting to give up during games there.
yeah, absolutely. There's some telling video out there, and I think Minnesota is the only team that really put forth a good deal. Obviously, because the rumored ones were ones that Minnesota wanted from us in New Jersey. New Jersey made the most sense, and that deal didn't get done. So, my God, what were they asking for from there?
So what I had heard was New Jersey. I mean, this is just what I've read. I don't know how true, because it's just rumors, and the truth never really comes out. It's always like bits and pieces of it. They had pieces that they could send the other way, but they didn't have the cap space, and they wanted to include certain guys that had no movement clauses, and those guys didn't want to move. So who knows what's true, and who knows what people are just kind of putting together, and little birds are putting out little snippets to whoever they want to get it out so they don't look bad. Because you got to remember, New Jersey looks bad in this, right? So they're going to release stuff that tries to make them look better in this. So to me, it just never made sense. Number one reason, they didn't have the cap to do it.
Right.
And I guess the second reason was the players that they could send the other way had no movement clauses. And as we've seen, with past Flyers GMs, that can mess a lot of things up. So,
yeah, and it's I heard they were looking to move cap to make room and whatnot, and they're the one team, if they could have pulled it off, that made sense to give up legitimate assets to bring him in, because he would sign there. Like, it's 99% sure, why wouldn't he? So I understand that. And how often do these star players, when they get moved, do they actually go for what they're worth? Almost never. So yeah. I kind of look at what they got. I'm like, it checks boxes, and it's how you feel about the player individually will skew your view on this. But as far as their needs and what was available, what they were asking for, I think this is probably close to as good as they were going to get at the time they were trading the player.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in Vancouver. I guess a reason to keep an eye on them now, to watch Bouillon. And I really didn't watch a lot of Minnesota, to tell you the truth. So I don't know how Rossi looked up there. I know he's putting up points, but whatever. And kudos to Bill Guerin. Big balls, Bill Guerin, huh, Jack? Going out and just getting his guy,
taking the title away from Briere for a while.
Yeah, I mean, just look. Whether there's a lot of questions you can have about the deal, but for me personally, when someone just drops their nuts on the table and is like, I want this guy, I have what you need, tell me what you need to get it done, and let's move on here. You need to move them, I want them, I got the assets, and let's go. So I respect that from Guerin, and we'll see. Is he going to sign? We'll see. Are they going to make a deep playoff run?
Oh my God, if he signed, I'd be pissed. I'd be like, seriously, like all that, and he just signs in Minnesota. Because everything about that's the other thing. Like, Minnesota's a team right now; they're kind of going for it. Like, this puts them up into the tier with some of the top teams. Now they're still at the bottom of that tier, but this jumps them up significantly. They're trying to win now. Some of the other teams trying to make these trades, like Philly, aren't. So that kind of changes things as well. And he said what you said. He's like, yeah, we came out with our best offer, and boom, it happened because they're serious. So it made sense to me.
Yep. Okay, so let's see what we have next on our topic list here. We got just a little under a half an hour. Jack, can move that for a sec. All right, so Ristolainen came back last night, Jack, and looked phenomenal. All throughout the game, was an absolute beast. I'm going to nickname Ristolainen the stabilizer, Jack. If they have a D pair that needs a hand, Ristolainen, just put him with Risto. Every game I went to the last 2-3 years, Ristolainen just was under control, always makes the right play. That was first game back last night. You expected him to look a little rusty. I don't think he did. He looked great. Ristolainen could be the Flyers trade deadline acquisition this year. He only needs to play 50 games the rest of the year. Maybe, cross fingers, everything goes well. He stays healthy. They needed a big body on the back end. He was laying guys out last night. Something we really haven't seen a lot from Ristolainen throughout his Flyers tenure. Laying guys out, stabilizing whatever the hell line he was on. I thought looked phenomenal in his first game back. You want to talk about shot in the arm. I think the team fed off of some of that stuff. What did you think about Risto last night?
Oh, absolutely. They're laying some open ice hits like that. His first game back, I thought they were going to ease him in, and they just kind of were like, oh, yeah, well, just let him go. If he's going, fine, let him go. And I was fine by me. I like seeing him out there. Bradshaw really did wonders on this guy. And now you might see him on the power play unit too, which, you might chuckle at that at first, but he did put up some points in Buffalo. Maybe he does have a booming shot. So who knows? The main thing with Risto now, because me, I wanted to trade him, to get assets for him before, because I was worried that he was going to be too old for our retool, and he was going to be injury prone. And injuries have definitely been an issue the last 2.5 years with him. And if he can just stay healthy the rest of the season, then that'll make me feel 1,000 times better. And that is the main thing for Risto, to play how he's playing, to play good, to play physical, to do whatever they need. God forbid he does something on the power play. But really, if he can just stay healthy, that'll be massive for this team.
Yeah, that's an understatement. I just want to look something up here real quick for Risto, because I think what kind of injury did he have? Didn't he like blow up his triceps or something like
his
that?
Arm, yeah, I know it was his arm. I know people get confused because of Foerster, but it was positive. Yeah, tricep sounds right, or tri or bi, I forget. But it was definitely his arm. So, all we get's upper body injury, but I'm almost positive something with his arm, and he's been out since January of last year, February of last year, something like almost a full calendar year of being out. He kind of disappeared. People kind of forgot about him, and this was their timeline. He would come back in December, and sure enough, he did. And so far, so good.
Yeah. And so we talk about injury prone, and this Foerster stuff has me a little worried. Right.
Yeah.
I know he did it over the summer. We assume that he blew up his biceps and then re-aggravated it during the season. Now he's going, he's getting surgery. He's going to be out 5 months. Maybe we'll see him if the Flyers get to the playoffs. Most likely, you would assume next season. What's 5 months from now? May?
It's May, yeah.
So, hurts his shoulder 3-4 years ago. Misses an entire season. Blows up his bicep. Maybe it was a freak thing over the summer. Now he's missing 3/4 of a season. A third season. Your third season is really the year where you start to blossom, or you start to really break out, especially if you're a bigger dude. And so now, I'm a little concerned here. Should I be?
Not yet. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. It's one of those things. It's like if he was getting hurt and it was different things, I could live with it a little bit better. But when it's the same injury, that's where you start getting nervous, like a goalie with the groin or something like that. But it's the second one. So of the arm, he was trying to avoid going under the knife, had to have the surgery done. That's a shame. But ultimately, if he's out the rest of this year and it makes a full recovery, I'm a little uneasy about it, but I'm not worried. I'm not panicking yet. They got to figure it out. And sometimes for the most part, they do. And hopefully he'll just, so go away. He had the surgery now. There's no more. Because I always feel like when they don't have surgery, and I never wanted to have surgery, when they're always holding it off, I'm like, there's always, and they're coming back, I'm like, there's always potential they can do it again. And that's kind of what happened with the offseason and now. And I'm like, you know what? He had the surgery now, full recovery. We should be good going forward. So something to keep an eye on. Not there yet, not worried yet. But, it's a little, you're definitely a little uneasy.
Yeah, Tyson Foerster in 21 games this year had 10 goals, which would be on pace for just about a 40-goal season, maybe a little bit less, 38, 40 goals there.
Too, when he went out. He had a goal in that game.
Yep. So that's a tough one. Flyers, maybe they've missed him during maybe they could have used his goal-scoring touch in those 3 games they lost in overtime and shootout. Yeah. All right. So now we're getting into our bigger topics here, and I'm going to use this one to kind of, lean into more of the fun one here. We have Jarmo Kekalainen is the new general manager in Buffalo. Buffalo fired their ex-GM Kevin Adams earlier this week. Kekalainen was brought in as a consultant earlier before the start of the season, and I guess the writing was on the wall, and they announced it. If it wasn't yesterday, it was Monday. But so either yesterday or Monday, I can't remember. Everything kind of is blended in this week. But Kekalainen, Jack, the old GM of the Columbus Blue Jackets, who, as we know, employed and hired John Tortorella in Columbus. So the thought is, because I think it was Biz on Spit and Chicklets came out and said he heard from the same guy that told him Kevin Adams was out in Buffalo that Lindy Ruff was going to, get canned not long after. And there you go. You have Torts, all kinds of out of place on ESPN. Just doesn't belong there. Great. I think he's a good guy. Not the most. How do I say this? Not the most eccentric guy. Doesn't have the most life to him. Not the most entertaining to watch. He's more entertaining behind a bench or behind a microphone kind of thing.
That's right.
It just makes too much sense for Torts now to go to Buffalo. And my first thought was, how bad can he piss off Tage Thompson? And then you got the connection there.
Now we're talking.
Yeah. So, I say it in jest, but now there's a connection, because once Torts gets up there, he's going to ruffle some feathers. And so who's he going to piss off?
Well, this is twofold because, everything you just said, but Jarmo Kekalainen is a guy who's not afraid of making big deals. And look back at his history, he's because he had to. He was the GM of Columbus, a very small market team. He's had to make do with certain situations he's been in. And this guy flipped Ryan Johansson for Seth Jones. That was a big move. At the time, Johansson was their number one center. And he's traded him for what turned out to be a hell of a defenseman. He traded for Panarin when he was with Chicago. When they had to make moves. He was the guy who went out and got Panarin from them. And I think he just went to free agency after that. I don't think he moved Panarin, but because he wasn't coming back, they went out and remember they added Duchesne and Dzingel and all these other guys for a playoff run because they knew we were going to lose everybody. Then he had to move Seth Jones. He traded Cam Atkinson for Jake Voracek. The guy he acquired. I always forget his name. He had to move on from Pierre-Luc Dubois and that whole situation he had to deal with. And there's a couple of other players who've been through the system out there. The point is, he is not afraid of making big deals because he's had to in the past. He comes into Buffalo, and God forbid he brings in a guy like Tortorella, which he did in Columbus. He also brought back Mike Babcock. You remember that? Never even made it to the opening season. He'll bring these guys in. He does not care. And if he does ruffle some feathers, because I've seen on Twitter or X or whatever, people saying I don't understand why would Buffalo trade two of their best players? I'm Dahlin and Thompson have basically made it known if things don't change there quickly, they're going to want out. That's why. And then if they're losing and then they bring in a guy who pisses them off, you think they're going to really want to stay around? So, there's a connection. Everything makes sense. Other names, Power, Byram, all these guys could be available. Somebody. It could be, when I first saw this, I was like, oh, man, Kekalainen, I think he knows what he's doing for the most part. It's only so much you can do with certain teams. But then I thought about it, and I was like, you're right. You know what? If I wasn't even thinking of a John Tortorella thing. I was just like, this guy will make big moves. He will trade big pieces because he has to, because things ain't working in Buffalo. And things, he made big moves in Columbus. If he can do it in Columbus, he could certainly do it in Buffalo. And I hope the Flyers are not right there for when he's dangling some pieces, because we got pieces they would want, you would think, and they got pieces we know we want.
Yeah, it seems like there's going to be some kind of connection there. So we'll have a lot of time to speculate. Somebody mentions Dahlin in the chat. Dahlin, Byram, Power, who's making $8 million playing third line. Tage Thompson. So we'll have a lot of discussion up there. So that kind of leads us on to our next topic here. There's something that I've been thinking about a lot. The way the Flyers have been playing, the way that the Eastern Conference is shaping up. Should they be buyers right now? Should they say, I look at the standings here, I see what my team's doing. We're in every single game, right? Like it feels like every game's gone to overtime or shootout. We can make some noise this year. Is it because we're ready to? And I don't think you're ever truly ready when things are heading the right way. But I see the Eastern Conference and the Metro standings in particular, and I go, we can win this division. We can finish near the top of this conference. Why wouldn't I inject a little bit more skill into this team if I can right now? And I'm not saying wait to the trade deadline. Right now. And that's another reason why I respect Bill Guerin so much. I mean, his team, you sign Kaprizov to that massive deal, and you have to go for it when you do that. But if I'm Briere and the plan is the plan, isn't being a good GM recognizing when you need to tweak the plan a little bit? It's not saying steer completely off the plan here, off the paved road, off the yellow brick road, but let's do something. These guys are giving it all they got. Let's reward them with something. Let's try to go for it a little bit. Win a playoff. If we're going to go, let's try to do something. Let's not just be happy that we're getting there. What do you think?
I understand what you're saying, and I do think he can throw them a bone, essentially. I don't think they're buyers. If they were to trade a first-round pick for an expiring deal or a true rental that they had no chance of re-signing for a playoff push, that would be a bad idea. They have too many major needs that they're going to need major assets for to be doing, giving up a lot on 1 year. It's like they're going all in or something like that. Like they're not there yet. I do, and they've already said this basically, like what they're looking for at some kind of depth center that hopefully doesn't cost you at the absolute most, maybe a third rounder. I could live with that, especially for a playoff push if they're trying to get this team to the playoffs and show that they're on the up and up, and bring in free agents or people who they trade for would sign. So if they did something like some kind of depth center or even defenseman, but probably center for somewhat of a cheaper price, I'd be okay with that. But as far as giving up major assets for anybody, that would be the wrong move if you ask me. Unless somehow they acquire some, if Buffalo's turned around, it's like, all right, we're selling everybody, whenever, give us your best offer, and they acquire Tage Thompson. Or if St. Louis finally goes, all right, Robert Thomas is going to be available. Like if they somehow traded for one of those guys at the deadline or close enough to it, that's a different story because that helps you this year and the future. But I don't see that happening. And if they give up major assets that only affect this year, that would be a problem. That would be deviating from the plan way too much. But you can still throw them a bone. You can still do something, bring in some kind of depth center or whatever that can help out. I saw in the chat, are they going to trade because of Foerster's injury? I think that's going to be in-house completely. Obviously, Bump's the name that comes to mind. We'll see who else. They
don't even need to bring up Bump. They have Grunstrom.
Yeah, and so I think they're going to ride that as long as they could. But right now, Grabenk is actually not playing that well. So I'm not sure if you have – I think Grunstrom should just stay on the fourth line. Like, if you do something with that. Yeah, you want to mix them up in the top six every once in a while? Sure. But, if you're trying to replace or come as close to as possible to replacing Foerster and Grabenk and giving it to you right now, bring up Bump for a little bit. It's maybe after Christmas. I wish he was scoring more goals down there, but you just want to see what you have, and it's a perfect opportunity. Foerster's essentially out this season, so I think it'd be kind of silly not to at least see Bump a little bit. And if it doesn't work out, just send him back. It's no big deal. You got to give him a chance, I would think, because he's the closest skill-wise to replacing Foerster potentially. Grunstrom should be here to stay until he really falls off a cliff because he's perfect for whatever you need him to do. Sure, he can jump up in your top six, but you can put him on your fourth line. I think he's a effective fourth line player. We have the worst fourth line in hockey right now, so he's got a spot. It's Grabenk, and I look at him like, yeah, he's the one that got the first shot, really, and I think he had an assist in that first game, and it just really hasn't been panning out. So I think anyway, we're getting off topic a little bit. That's how I believe they would address a winger situation. Plus, we all know we got wingers for days. So I really think the only thing they would be looking at outside of a major injury is a little bit of center depth, not giving up too many assets, and definitely no major assets, and I would be okay with that. Anything more like a true deadline back in the day where Paul Holmgren's giving up a first and a third for a third line winger, like none of that. Absolutely none of that. That would be a mistake.
Jack, you disappoint me, my friend.
Uh-oh.
It used to be so much more fun. And then you've had to watch this Flyers team for the last decade. And you just forgot that hockey can be so much fun. And the team is they're starting to win. They went through the rebuild. They said, we're not selling anybody off anymore. Why wouldn't you try to go big? Outside of Martone and Michkov, who wouldn't you trade?
Just for this season? I mean, if you're talking about
what asset wouldn't you move?
I mean, there's not for what though? What are we talking about? Just in general?
I mean, like outside of Martone and Michkov, like who would you regret trading from this prospect pool? What asset? It would be Alex Bump. You'd regret trading Alex Bump?
Oh, it depends on what we traded him for.
Yeah, you're trading for a top 6 something that's going to make a difference, something exciting.
For just this year?
No.
If it's something that could be a part of your future.
It's going to be a splash trade that's like, holy shit.
Yeah, if they say they got Byram from Buffalo, like that's a younger player. Defense is we can always use more defense. It potentially could run your power play if things work out for him, although they're still kind of waiting on that. I have no problem giving up Bump in a situation like that. But I don't. If it's a 1 year thing, it's a rental, 31-year-old rental player or something like that. I'm not giving up Bump or Barkey or Bonk or any of those guys. So even
I would give up all 3 in a trade for Quinn Hughes without a guarantee that he would sign you.
Okay, for Quinn Hughes, I would probably do that too. But
I'm
not trading Foerster and York and the first round pick for what could be a year and a half of Quinn Hughes, and then he just walks.
Yeah, I miss Cam York.
It's not just Cam York; it's Cam York and much else.
If
it was just Cam York, even then you got to really consider, like, do we really have a shot at trading for him? Maybe, because he would replace Cam York, and then if he walks, you roll the dice, you give it your best shot. But it's not just Cam York. It is. You see some of those rumored deals. It was like Martone, Foerster, York, a first round pick, like ridiculous, and it's no guarantee. Like that's crazy.
All right, Stephen P gives a name in the chat. I appreciate that, Stephen P. I'm not sure if I've seen you in here before, so welcome. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Thanks for hanging out. Stephen P wouldn't trade Luchenko, Jack, and that would be a tough one for me too. But outside Michkov and Martone, there's not an asset that I don't think I would move for a player that could make a massive difference. Yeah, sure, this year and in the future. For me, with Quinn Hughes, I would not hesitate. If a player like him became available, I'm going for him. And then once I get him here, we have to make the playoffs. We have to make him fall in love with the organization, with the city, with the fans, right? With what you're doing, with the plan. We already know that he liked the coach. Just get to the playoffs. Let these guys experience playoff hockey, and they'll fall in love. Playoff hockey in Philly, it's there's nothing better. So my whole thing with Hughes, and this is why I appreciate Bill Guerin doing it, was just get him. This is a generational D for your organization. Don't hesitate, and I get it. The Flyers have accumulated assets. We want to spend them on the right player. I get that, and I appreciate that. But we can't be. I don't want to be afraid. If they take a swing,
you don't want to be gun shy. I get it.
If they take a swing and it doesn't work, I'm not going to be mad at the Flyers or Danny Briere for going for it. You know what I mean?
I want them to be. We're spending a lot of time waiting for this to come around. So to blow the large majority of your assets on a guy who could walk, that is terrifying to me. It was like we waited all this time. We went through all the Tortorella era. We went through the end of the Fletcher era. We went through all those years. We acquired all these assets and all these players and whatnot. And we take half of that pool and just go get Hughes and he walks. Because Minnesota's in a different spot than we are. If our rebuild is 5 years from where we're at now, and we're making the playoffs annually, excuse me, and we're just trying to get over the top, and you could have a year and a half or 2 playoff runs with the Quinn Hughes, that's a different story. That's where Minnesota is. We'd be doing it hoping we make the playoffs at all. Like, you're not truly a contender, and you're going to blow all those assets, and he turns around and walks. There's a difference between. It's like you need to take risks, but you need to take calculated risks. I don't think you can just go crazy. I know everybody wants him, and they're all freaking out. The rebuild's a failure and what have you. How does most people not see how bad that would be if we couldn't re-sign him? Yeah, you could flip him for assets, but you're not getting what you gave. And you're going to get even less. And at that point, what's the point trading for him if you're flipping? Yeah, I mean, just to me, if you're going to get him, try to keep him, and I'd have to give up significantly less assets. And they weren't okay with that. They need to make a trade. It doesn't have to be mid-season this year, but I do think it has to be this offseason. I think they got coming our way.
I would love to see it. And the number one reason is the Eastern Conference standings. The Eastern Conference is mediocre. It's up for grabs. Sure, maybe there'll be, the cream eventually will rise to the top. But the Carolina Hurricanes scare you, Jack? The Flyers are 0-3 against them this year. All 3 games. Yeah, all 3 games they've lost in extra time or the overtime shootout. But do they scare you? They don't scare me.
I have respect for them, though. They're always there. We haven't beaten them at home since 2020, like before the COVID lockout. Like, I get it. Like, on paper, they don't scare you, but like stat-wise, numbers-wise, they're good. Back then we were trying to 2019, 2020. It was one of our better years. Yeah, and it's been pretty shitty since then. But this is a team who's always in at least the second round of the playoffs. Finally breaking through to the Eastern Conference Finals. They have one of the better coaches in the league. Their systems are good. They just whoever they move in there typically has a good year. They're at the top of the division again. I'm not sure where they rank the rest of the league.
But long story short, they don't scare you.
They're like one of those teams. Like, you look at the roster and it's like you don't see the McKinnon, you don't see the McCarr, you don't see like the stud player like that. But as a unit, as a full unit, they get it done, man. They do. But
they don't strike fear in your heart.
Because
they're a team that you're like, we can beat them.
But can we? In a 7-game series where it matters most?
Yeah. They in the playoffs especially, they choke it up.
I wouldn't say that. That'd be like if Toronto's a team that chokes it up.
How many years have they been in a row and they haven't won dick?
How many
Stanley Cups have they made it to?
Jesus, they have a pretty good playoff record. They just can't break through.
Who gives a shit about the playoff record?
How many playoff series have we won?
Well, you got to. That's what I'm saying. Won? This is what I'm saying.
We can't even make it there. We can't even make it, but we're going to beat them.
There? Yeah, but don't just waltz in. Go in there and make a statement.
Trade for Quinn Hughes. Make the playoffs.
Let's go get Tage.
Well, Tage makes sense because you keep him long term. He's signed long term. I'd be all for that.
Well, let's go do something. I don't want to just say,
I want to do something too. Darlene is my dream.
This year. Let's get into the playoffs and let's see what happens.
It's a process, Jim.
I'm just like, dude, the Eastern Conference is not good. Let's go in prepared to win a couple rounds. Let's change the mindset. Let's speed it up a little bit. I get that there's a process, but at what point are you like, you know what? We're doing a little bit better here.
You gotta be patient, Jim.
Let's do something.
We need our player to become available and they'll do it. Like, look how patient they were with Zegras. We were ready to give up Cam York and whatever else. There's all these other deals. They waited it out, and now they're reaping the benefits. They have to be smart about it. You can take risks, but you have to take calculated risks. And I'm all for it. I am all for getting some of the names you said. My only issue with Quinn Hughes is like, look, this is July 1st, different conversation. I'm giving up a whole lot more because it comes with an extension. And I don't no way Minnesota it's not up to Minnesota, it's up to Hughes. If he wants to go play with his brothers, he's going to go play with his brothers, which he's already said. If they turn around and sign him, good on them. They figured it out. They made him love the place, and he signed. But like, what if he just walks for them? They're a playoff team going for it who's already been in the playoffs, trying to get over the hump.
All right.
Much like Carolina's been trying to do with all the trades.
I'm going to go down a list for you
not there
here,
yet.
Jack. I'm going to go down a list for you here, okay? I'm going to list the top 8 teams in the Eastern Conference right now.
Right now.
We went through the Carolina Hurricanes already. You're scared of the Carolina Hurricanes.
Terrified.
Number 2 in the Eastern Conference right now, the Detroit Red Wings. Do they scare you, Jack?
No.
The New York Islanders are tied for number 2. Do they scare you?
Not really. Although they got some good players. I got to see more of them.
Sure.
They got some good players. They got good goaltending, good players.
But they don't scare you.
Everybody scares me, Jim. No, they don't scare me. They're a middling team trying to figure things out. They got a huge shot in the arm with that first overall pick.
Flyers are 4th. Good. The Flyers are 4th right now, a point behind Detroit and the Islanders, so we'll skip them. Number 5, the Washington Capitals, who are a point behind, tied with the Flyers with 40 points. Do they scare you?
Yeah, good team. They're old, but they're good.
But they're not a team where you're like, if we get matched up with them in the first round, we're going to get pummeled.
I don't think
there's not pummeled. A team like that this year.
It just depends. I think Carolina could pummel us. I like our chances because I like how we play them, and every game went to overtime. But playoffs are a different animal, Jim. Playoffs are a different animal, and this team is inexperienced in the playoffs.
They're playing playoff hockey right now. That's why they're so goddamn boring.
Are they though? Are they?
That's why they're so boring to watch.
Are you talking? I mean, yeah, maybe. Yeah, they're not in the playoffs. So how do you know?
They're building a team for the playoffs. The regular season teams are the most fun teams to watch because they fly around, they score a lot of goals. Then they get to the playoffs and they get smashed, curb stomped first round. Right?
I think I understand what you're saying, but it's not playoff. It's not playoff hockey. It's a whole nother animal. It's a whole nother season.
Number 6, the Boston Bruins. Do they scare you?
No.
Number 7, the Lightning. Do they scare you?
Potentially, yes. If they get fully healthy, they've been without Vasilevsky for a little bit, but yes, they have some studs. Their power play scares the shit out of me.
Okay. And I know things can change a little bit here, but I'm just going to go 8 and 9. Montreal Canadiens.
No.
Pittsburgh Penguins.
No.
It's up for grabs, man.
I get what you're saying. And I just think there's teams that kind of upper middle it in the season, and then when the playoffs come around, they turn it on. Because we have teams like the Lightning who break records in the regular season, get bounced in the first round. You're not supposed to do that. Boston too. Like back when some of these more proven playoff teams, they will turn it on when the playoffs come, and they're going to actually add. They're going to actually add because that's the position they're in, to add like those rental players to help put them over the top. We're not there yet, and if we did that, if it was a long-term deal, like a Tage Thompson who signed for a few years or something, that's a whole nother conversation. But as far as getting like the true playoff rental, that's not something we should do because we think the conference is weak. I know maybe we sneak in there, but it's a whole nother animal. Maybe they surprise us, but to go all the way, no chance. There's no way. They're not there. I would like to get them a taste. New Jersey. You didn't even mention New Jersey. Did you even say New Jersey?
Quinn Hughes cut his hand off, and they've been shit ever since.
Jack Hughes.
Jack Hughes.
He does have issues staying healthy, but they're a playoff team. They have the goal. He's getting older, but they have the goaltending. They have the defense. They have a lot of stuff, and they're probably going to add something too once their team gets fully healthy.
I said this years ago. The Devils are the most fraud, and they're the perfect example of a regular season team because they'll put up good numbers and they'll be fun to watch. And Jack Hughes is the face of that fraudulent team. They'll have a great regular season and get absolutely smoked in the playoffs, right? And their captain, their best player, is the perfect example of a regular season player. Because it's just the way he's built. Maybe it's not his problem, whatever, but it's bound to happen every year. This year is a freak injury. I think he caught himself. I don't know how. Nobody really knows.
Spontaneously combusted at dinner.
Yeah, but he's going to get hurt.
He does get hurt. It is kind of wild how he can just not stay healthy. But I do think that most of these teams, when they're coming up from their rebuilds or whatever they're doing, you're not a playoff team and you're not a team who can win in the playoffs until you do. And eventually these teams are going to get through. Eventually they're going to do it. The Carolina could not get out of the second round. They finally did. I do think it's possible that they maybe take that next step. Even Toronto to an extent now, their team's different now. Things are a little bit different, but it took them forever to get out of the first round. New Jersey's one of those teams. Eventually they're going to do it. Like when I look back at the Penguins and the Washington teams, where the Washington Capitals, where Ovi was in his prime, were they bad teams because they didn't win the cup? No, they were crazy good. They were crazy good. They just couldn't get over the hump. They would run into Sidney Crosby and the Penguins a lot. They weren't there until they finally broke through and did it. And it just you are what you are until you prove otherwise. And that doesn't mean that these teams aren't good. That doesn't mean we won't be a stepping stone and they're another chance at breaking through into the Eastern Conference or into the Stanley Cup. So I understand what you're saying, but I think because we feel the East is weak right now to give up major assets for a playoff push without it being a long-term solution as well, where it serves both purposes, I think it'd be a big mistake.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the ideal thing, is to get a guy that's going to be around for a while. And I'll have a list. I've got a list of guys here, potential trade targets, but I could save this for a future episode, or maybe we're light on topics and whatnot. But Tage Thompson, things are changing over there in Buffalo. You mentioned the Robert Thomas. There are guys out there. Seattle's going through it with a couple of young centers out there, Shane Wright and Matty Beniers. So you never know.
I think you just got to wait. You got to be patient. And that's when you can get somebody becomes available. Who going into the season, who thought Quinn Hughes was going to be so disgusted with what's going on with the team that he'd be traded before Christmas? Nobody had that on their bingo card. So these things come around and you have to strike when it makes sense and when you have the assets to do it. So that's why I don't want to give up any assets just to get in and get a taste of something. I understand what you're saying. I think based on what you said, if they can stay healthy, they should be able to get in maybe as a wild card seed, maybe even a little bit better based on that alone. And that would be good because you're getting, and you should still throw them something, some depth center or whatnot. And then you get your playoff experience. And then free agents and players you acquire in trades that need extensions, they're more likely to stay because they've seen the improvement you've made, the players you've watched, you've brought in and whatnot. So it's one of those, I know we want to get there, but we're not there yet. And I know it's hard to ask for patience again because we've been going through so much. And every time a big player becomes available and the Flyers don't get him, it's like a snap back to reality. And, we were talking off air. It's like, oh man, if they got Hughes, and then there was a Brady Tkachuk rumor, when he becomes available, he could be looking at Philly, and that's a winger. We need centers, but still, it's a high name player, And anytime one of these players becomes available, the Flyers are going to be mentioned, and they should be. And it's a matter of being able to make it work. And I'm always looking at Buffalo because of what two of their own players have basically let known to the organization. If things don't change soon, because we're tired of losing, we're going to request trades essentially. And now I don't have an actual quote that was in a newspaper, an article that they said this, but that's the feel around that team and around the league is that they're like, look, we're tired of losing. I'm not going to spend my whole career in this losing city. We're trying to stick it out. It ain't working. They don't spend money in Buffalo. The owners do not spend money on that team. They spend more money on the Penn State and on the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Sabres are basically a minor league team to them. Well, players aren't going to want to stay around. They get treated them like crap. So we'll see what the new regime does. And if they need to make some changes, the Flyers need to be the first team there looking at whatever they're offering. And we because we're not making trades to get into the playoffs and whatnot, we should have the assets. Now, I don't think it's likely that Thompson or Dahlin or Power or whoever are a trade deadline acquisition. I think it's easier to make those kind of trades in the offseason. And that's why I keep looking for the offseason. And I know that's not fun, Jim. I know that's not fun, and it doesn't help our cause this year, but it's just what's more likely because that the Sabres need to get the maximum value if they're going to trade those guys, and you need to have more teams to offer them to, and it's just easier to do that in the offseason.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know. If I'm the GM, and then we can move on to the last topic, I look at this Eastern Conference and I'm like, dude, let's see what we can do here. I'm not saying put all the chips in. Maybe you have, a handful, 5, 6 assets that you're comfortable moving, and you put some combination together and you go get something that works for you, like you said, for now and future.
I'd be all for that. Seriously.
But like, look at this Eastern Conference. It sucks. There's no team that strikes fear where you're like, damn, if we get in, we're just going to get smoked.
No, I agree with that.
You know what I mean?
I don't think we're facing a Colorado type. I agree with. I do think we'll probably lose. But
I think as is, they get into the playoffs.
Well, that's what I think they're pushing for. I think they can get in as is, not give up assets. They know they're not going to win anything, like go all the way, win anything. And it's like you can throw them a bone.
Not with that attitude.
Well, they had that better attitude going into the season. They had made it known, like, we're going to try to make the playoffs. And now a lot of it's been all their new acquisitions are probably really what's carrying. Well, I know it's what's carrying them, Vladar and Zegras especially. But that's part of the issue. It's like they got it. They still are in an adding phase. They are not there yet, and they can't be adding pieces here. It's not like, okay, they need to fix the power play. They need a power play quarterback, which they do. But like some teams are just looking for that, or they need a speedy winger or a scoring goal. Somebody who did net foot presence or whatever. Like, no, they need stars still. They need stars. They need to go big game hunting. And the only way you're going, and you need to do it for somebody who's going to be with your organization long term. And the only way you're going to do that was major assets. So like that is the only trades I'm looking for them to make. And with every available player or could be available player, almost all those deals are going to be off-season deals. Maybe there's a chance Robert Thomas becomes available for St. Louis. I know right now they're trying to push. We have his brother in the what the hell's his name? In the minors. We have him on the fan. His brother's on the Phantoms, the defenseman we got from Dallas.
Cairo?
Yeah. So Jordan Cairo is the one they're trying to push out of. They're dangling in a trade for the Blues. Like that's the guy they want to trade. They don't really want to trade Robert Thomas, but if things get bad enough, they get a sweetheart of a deal. It may be a lower end number 1C, but it'd be your number 1C, at least for the time being. And it would probably cost you a little something, but I'd be okay with that. I would give up the assets, some of the names we mentioned, because he would be your guy going forward. At least I'm not sure what his contract is, but I'm sure he can negotiate one. And I don't think he has his brother's already here. So if he wants to come play with his brother, he's coming to the right organization. So I think you can make something like that work. That could be a potential during the season deal. And that would be awesome. I just don't think that's feasible.
He's a wing, though, no?
Robert Thomas, he plays center.
Oh, Robert Thomas, you mean?
Yeah, Robert Thomas is one. Yeah, no. Right now they're pushing Cairo, but they don't want to trade Robert Thomas. But if they decide they want to, we get a nice offer because they may be going into a full rebuild at some point. That's where you got to strike when the iron's hot. Again, most likely an off-season deal, but you never know. Do you get the right deal? But those are the kind of trades I would make. Like those, it's a position of need. It's a player who somewhat fits your timeline. And, that I'm giving up assets for players like that. We are big game hunting. And I would start at the top with Darlene and them. But almost all these players you mentioned, it makes the most sense in the offseason. And then in like 5 years from now, we've made the playoffs a couple times. We're getting over the hump. And the next Quinn Hughes becomes available. Then I'm all for going and getting them for a year and a half and seeing what happens.
5 years from now, Jack?
All right, 3. I don't know. Jim, I don't know. We've been through the ringer with this team, so who the hell knows?
Yeah. I get it, and we can move on, but it's like it's a weird year too. Like they have that weird break coming up for the Olympics.
Tell you what,
like if the Flyers are in it at the Olympic break, you have all that time to negotiate, figure something out, do your homework. Let's do it. Let's do something. Let's accelerate a little bit. Like show the guys you're serious. And that will show players around the league. The Flyers are back on the map. They're not just backing their asses into the playoffs. They want to do stuff.
Well, one thing they'll have to do is get Mishkov right. Like he can't be playing the way he is. That's holding him back. If he's playing like he's playing last year, we even had like maybe I'm willing to give up a little bit more than a third. Maybe I'm in this, second territory for something like, because that would change the dynamic of what they could do tenfold. So they got to fix some of their own issues first too. They have a guy out for the year. So there's things to consider.
I like Patrick's comment here. Patrick, I'm sure this will be a topic for at least a few episodes coming the rest of the year. So we're going to put that in the back pocket. Patrick asked for the podcast listeners out there. I know it's only been a single game, but keep or sell Risto. That'll be a topic for a future episode because we're running a little bit overtime here. So let's get to our last topic here, Jack. We're an hour and 15 into an hour show. Time to panic. So this was put in by you here on the topic list. And Briere, you have Briere's plan. Is it failing? And are the Flyers doomed for eternity? And this came after the Quinn Hughes to Minnesota. So I have to imagine maybe you're feeling a little discouraged here.
So it's not so much me as it is really X is where I see it from.
Okay.
Facebook as well. Like any Flyers outlet you can see, it feels like them not getting Hughes, like Briere, everything he's doing. People are like, oh, and to throw into that as well, like Michkov's not going to be the guy we thought he was. And that's going to derail the plan as well. They've ruined him or he's just not that guy. And my whole thing with that is, can you explain to me how a 21-year-old just turned is like, you could trade him now? Like, one, wouldn't you be trading lower value than what you thought you had? But you're not going to see this out. Give him an off season. He's 21. You're going through a rebuild. People are ready to trade this guy. They were ready to trade him straight up for Quinn Hughes on no extension. Like, that's baffling to me. This guy could be a superstar. I'm still of that belief. Like, the growth is not a straight line trajectory. We say this all the time. Like, there's peaks and valleys. I'm sorry, but he's in a valley right now. It is what it is. He's a young guy. He had a bad offseason. All right, he's going through the ringer. He knows. He takes stupid penalties. All right, he just turned 21 for Christ's sake. And now because that's an issue and people don't like Tocchet's system and they can be boring to watch and they didn't go get Quinn Hughes, everything's falling to pieces. This plan has failed. Nothing matters anymore. They're forever. Where's Flyers purgatory when I need them? They're forever going to be a middling team. It's like, is there any positive that you can take out of this? Zegras, Vladar, even Dvorak, some of the younger players, Foerster, before he got hurt, you said was on pace for 40 freaking goals. And when he went out, he was really starting to heat up. It probably brings a really solid player. Konechny's still starting to put the puck in the net. Some of the defensemen, like, we're still looking for our power play quarterback, but all the defensemen can play defense. We have some of the best defensive depth we've had in quite some time. We have a lot of prospects to come up. I look at how this team is, and you're going to add Martone next year to that on top of whatever trades you make and whatnot, and Michkov can turn it on. I don't understand how the sky is falling. And that's all I see on X and even Facebook or whatever groups you're in and whatnot. Like, I'm so confused. Like, is it we really believe that because things didn't go exactly perfectly how they should have, that that's the end, it's over? Do these young kids that just play NHL the game, and when you start adding and everybody increases at the same time and everything's gravy? I mean, look at we were just talking about them sneaking into the playoffs and making some noise if they should potentially add something to give them a shot in the arm or throw them a bone. But if you turn to another view of the fan base, it's the whole thing has failed. Briere sucks. He needs to be fired. And trade Michkov. Like, what the? Like, you can see I'm a loss for words. Like, I do not understand it. So I threw that in there as what the hell is wrong with some people in this fan base? Oh, you're on mute.
I'm going to assume a lot of the guys you're talking about, I've already muted on there. Just for this reason, right? It's like, it's just for the shock and awe factor, right? Like, smartest guy in the room syndrome, got to piss and moan, go to my diary, which is Twitter, and write all my thoughts and feelings down, no matter how extreme they are, kind of thing. I've muted these people because it's just, they make you angry when you start reading some of this shit. It's like, how can you think this way?
I just can't believe it. But I think we're getting trolled here. Flyers hockey.
Well, who is Flyers hockey? So I've never seen you in here. Appreciate you hanging out. Briere should have been fired when he gave Tippett that contract and York.
I think we're getting trolled. But if we're not, like, that's kind of the sentiment. Like, I'm like, I don't understand. Like that, I understand Tippett's a frustrating player, but that's the kind of player he is. And that when he's on, people look at that contract and they're like, that could be a real steal with how the cap's skyrocketing. Thank you. I held out. He's trolling, but he's echoing a lot of what I'm seeing. Like, people hate Tippett, they do, and he's a frustrating player. But like,
but the people that hate Tippett loved Morgan Frost. So it's like, dude, get the. How can I take your opinion serious? You know?
Well, it's kind of like that. Teams, we know for a fact Vancouver is interested in Tippett. Like, they like Tippett. Like, I'm sorry, there's not a deal there, but teams like Tippett. You know, it's one of those things. The only reason I'd be okay trading Tippett, not the only reason, but the main reason, is because we have the depth to back it up, and we have to give up something to get what we need. So that's why he's the first one that comes to mind for me. I would trade him for that matter. And it got to the point where, like, the Flyers had to talk to Tippett and be like, we're not putting that out there. Teams are calling and asking about you. Take that as a compliment. And if teams are calling and asking about a prospect, that's my point. Like, we have assets. We have solid, good players. They're young. They're going through it. They're figuring things out. This is a young team. Outside of your Coots, and I know people get on him too, there's certain players from other eras that are just here. You know, and they're just the statesmen of the team. It is what it is. But I look at the youth and who's coming up and who Briere is drafted and added and all that stuff. I don't know how you can complain. I'm sorry they didn't win a cup right away. I'm sorry they're not at the top of the division with Colorado and at the top of the league. But, like, when I look at what they have and what's coming and what could be coming and what they have available to trade, as long as Briere comes through and does it, and I don't know how you can question him. He got you Zegras, he got you Vladar, he got you Michkov, he's done it. He brought in certain coaching staff pieces and the Shawls who turned around their whole defense and whatnot. Like, I don't know how you could think the sky is falling. I don't get that. And it's you're right. It's a lot of people are muted, and I think a lot of them are kids. And maybe they just want to stir up trouble. But there's a lot, like, the threads are so many people just shitting on Tocchet, shitting on Tippett, shitting on Michkov. I've never seen trade. Michkov could be traded. First, it was he's going to want to leave. We're going to piss him off so bad that he's going to want to leave. That's gone. Now we got to trade him while he's still got some kind of value. I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like, I cannot believe this. This is like Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
That's panic right there. That's holy hell. It's not working. He was good last year, but he's no longer good. He forgot how to play. The magic's gone. Trade him. Like, jeez, it's.
I wonder if that's this generation kind of thing where
I think you nailed it. Yep.
You know, you need to see instant success. You need I think you may have predicted last year Michkov scoring 60 plus, but I would have been okay with 40 points last year.
Right.
You know, because you know that he's gonna learn over time. He's gonna get better over time, and the 70, 80, 90 point seasons will be there. You know what I mean?
You bought the hype, but, like, you have to stay centered. Like, I bought the hype too. I thought he was going to have a really good year. He did, but guess what? I thought he was going to have a really good year this year. If you go back to our predictions for this year, they're laughable. What I thought was going to happen, they were absolutely laughable, and especially because of what I said Michkov was going to do. But I'm not out on him. I'm not like, oh, well, he's got to go. He don't have it. Like, okay, we're going through it. We think we know what the issue was with the whole offseason thing. He's already admitted he's going to stay here. Like, it is what it is. I would like to see him just get a better rapport with Tocchet, like, maybe earn some of his trust, stop taking stupid penalties, and improve upon what he can. Come the Olympic break, I heard, well, I don't know for a fact, but apparently he's, Russia can't play, so he's going to be training the whole time to get caught up, and maybe he comes out a different player and then, save some people's lives.
So you made a good point there, and I thought about this a few days ago. Do you remember last season when Michkov was basically just, out of gas the last 20, 25 games of the year? Mm-hmm. We're like, damn, this guy is beat. Like, he's tired. Could you imagine if Flyers organization, when talking to Rick Tocchet, said, good player, needs to have his minutes watched early in the season, so when we're going to make that playoff push, we still have one of our best offensive players with some gas in the tank. Could you imagine? Like, wouldn't that be insane to coach a player that way?
That'd be crazy.
Not burn his ass out through the first half of the year. I don't know.
Jim,
to me, that makes a lot of sense.
I thought you were going to come through the screen there for a second.
Well, it's idiotic. It's such short-sighted. It's just the now, I need it now generation. And it just bothers me, man. The guy like Rick Tocchet has forgotten more about hockey than, probably you and I and everyone in this chat right now that will ever know. So it's like, look, sometimes I agree and disagree with what the guy does, but at the end of the day, he knows what he's doing. And he doesn't have to reveal his plan to us. Oh, I'm saving Michkov for the end of the year. Could you imagine if he said that?
Oh my God.
He's managing his minutes because he wants to keep them fresh. That's my conclusion. I have no doubts. Halfway through the year, after the winter break, after the Olympic break, you're going to see 16, 17, 18-minute nights from Michkov. No doubt in my mind. In fact, I will make the bet right now. If he doesn't, and I'll tally everything up, if Michkov doesn't average at least 16 minutes of ice time through the second half of the season,
average.
I don't know what I'll do, but we'll do something.
That's good. You write that one down. I got to see how this goes.
Guarantee after the Olympic break, Michkov averages at least 16 minutes a night.
So that is an interesting theory. I don't think that's the case, but it would be interesting. I can see them doing that to a much lesser degree.
Well, why not? Do you think they're just punishing him because they don't like him?
No, I think he doesn't trust him. I think where his minutes are, it's not like his minutes are being restricted throughout the course of a game. He's not playing in the third, particularly in close games where he could take a penalty and suddenly the game's tied, or he can give the other team momentum. It's the third period where his minutes, and even overtime, where his minutes are being restricted the most, or directly after a bad penalty or play. But mostly it's the third period. I think if you could look up like his minutes per period, his third would be woefully like gone compared to the other two periods. I think that, so I don't think they dislike him or is being punished. I think he's out of shape. I think he's too risky. He takes too many stupid penalties, and he's coaching to win games. He's not coaching to develop. I mean, you're supposed to develop along the way, obviously. I'm not saying he's putting it aside completely, but he's coaching to win games. If he doesn't trust Michkov in a high pressure situation in a one goal game where he thinks that he could do something stupid and blow his assignment or take a dumb penalty, he's not going to put him out there. And right now, when you look at some of the penalties Michkov has taken, can you blame him? If he's not named Michkov, this isn't even a conversation. If it's just some other rookie, if it's Bump, or if it's, it's because it's Michkov and he has an entire religion behind him that when he gets treated like this, that they flip out.
Yeah. And
I'm frustrated too. I have his jersey. My dad has his jersey. My son has his jersey. We go to the game. We're all wearing Michkov jerseys. Seriously, and I hate seeing it, but at the same time, I understand it. I hope he comes out of it. I do. I don't think it's really going to happen until maybe after the Olympic break, if not next year. But he's shown that look, I screwed up. I'm staying here this summer, and I'm going to work out. And I believe him because he's got that I saw last year. He has that Jordan in him. He's not Tippett saying, "Oh, I scored 20 goals. I had a good season," even though he scored almost 10 less goals in the year before, and he's a goal scorer and took 100 less shots. He should have been a finalist for the Rookie of the Year. Scored 65 goals as a 19, 20-year-old in his first season, and he was disappointed in his play. I think he's disappointed. I think he's going to figure it out, and next year will be different. Maybe even the Olympics will be different. Or after the Olympics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's not, the sky's not falling. My God.
No, I don't think it is either. A little adversity is good, especially for a young guy. Because you got to test him a little bit. Can you handle this?
He should be getting
puffing him up a
some
little
more
bit.
Minutes. I was okay with it at first, and I think, yes, I understand you don't trust him. But he's got to play himself out of it a little bit. And I still think he's behind, conditioning wise, but he's got to get more minutes. He's too talented not to. And you know what? When I saw him in that one overtime, I was like, "Whoa, a Michkov sighting in overtime." I was happy to see that. I hope we see some more of that. We'll see. But if he just plays like a more structured, responsible game, he's gonna get more minutes. If he can just do it, just like stop strangling players with the don't have the puck. Like stop. He's so wild with his stick. Like stop doing those lazy bullshit penalty stuff, and you're gonna get more minutes.
And that's being unbiased right there.
Certainly trying to be.
Yeah. So it's like admitting that look, he's not really doing anything to earn more ice time.
Look, that play against the goal. Who did they play? Montreal last night with the goalie. It's a heads-up play. He was there because he was forechecking hard. That should be rewarded. Yeah. You know, I'm not saying give him the entire third period, but like I hope that maybe whenever he does something good, I want to see him build up from something good. You know, I don't want to revert back. So what do they got tomorrow?
Hang on, I got the schedule up here.
Buffalo, I believe.
Am I sharing the schedule? No, I'm not.
Yeah, I think they got Buffalo, 7:30 start time tomorrow. Got to beat Buffalo because we'll want them to continue down their horrible path. So they're more likely to trade talented players. And then Saturday we'll finally see them. We'll finally see them play the Rangers, who've had a really, really weird season.
Can't score at home.
Excuse me. Well, that's kind of tough. They got to come home to play the Quinless Vancouver Canucks, and they got to shoot out to Chicago. Oh, that could be tough. All these games, and even if you go to the next week, Jim, Buffalo, New York, Vancouver, Chicago, Seattle, Vancouver again, Calgary. Every single one of those games is when I think they're better than all those teams. I mean, every single one of those. I don't think they win them all. That back-to-back could hurt them. These are winnable games. All of them. All of them, right up until they play Edmonton. And isn't Edmonton not having the best season this year? I forget where they're at. I'm not saying they'll beat them, but who knows? But this stretch here is a lot of winnable games for sure. I mean, let me see. Do you want to just do our prediction for this week, which would be Buffalo, New York, Vancouver, and Chicago, I guess. So those 4 games, because of the back-to-back, I'm thinking – I'm trying to be optimistic here. My first thought was 2-1-1. Now I'm thinking 3-0-1. Let's go 3-0-1. Beat Buffalo, beat New York, beat Vancouver, maybe lose in overtime to Chicago because of the back-to-back flight out to Chicago, something like that.
All right, yeah. I mean,
games are tough, especially against the Rangers, but Rangers have had it. The Rangers can't score at home. They've had such a goofy year. Let's get it.
I'm going to go 4-0.
Oh, I love it. And then they get the Christmas break, come back and play Seattle. Ooh, I like that. They got was New Year's
Flyers could be in first place by the end of the month, baby.
And then they're going to trade for a 35-year-old guy in 1-year deal, 2 first-round picks.
No, see, I never said that. You keep saying that. I never said that. Those words never came out of my mouth. I never said go get a rental.
Yeah, well, you said buy. That's all you said was buy.
Buy, baby. Like
if you're a buyer,
the schedule you just read off, it stinks. Like we're sitting here saying that they can go 3-0-1.
It's a buyer schedule. It's a buyer schedule.
The Sabres, the Rangers, the Canucks. Like these are all teams they should beat.
Should. I like it.
Well, usually when that happens, it's because you got a decent team.
It's a buyer schedule, Jim.
It's a buyer schedule.
Finish out the year strong and 2026 buyers.
I don't know, man. I'm looking even in January, and I'm like, not a scary team on there until the 23rd, and that's
you were right past
the Flyers
Tampa.
Played well.
You were right past Tampa like they were nothing. The Ducks could be tough.
None
the
of
Ducks
them
could be tough. So the only team scares you is what? Colorado, Minnesota now because they have Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, of course, Colorado. Yeah, because I mean they're just they're insane.
Jim is not.
Have they lost in regulation yet?
Yeah. I think they got like 3 losses in regulation.
24, 2-7.
2
points.
Jesus.
They have points in 31 out of their 33 games. And Dallas scares me.
Dallas is
Dallas and Colorado, but we don't have to worry about them till the Stanley Cup.
Yes, we do, Jim.
So
well, we'll see what happens. Let's finish 2026 strong and see what happens. Start with this week, right before Christmas. Nice little Christmas gift. A little 4-0 would be amazing. That'd be great. I'm trying to be somewhat realistic. But hey, they got some players, baby. Ladar, I think he plays all of them except for the. Hold on, we got a request. I got to scroll here.
Don't read it.
No, he was trolling us.
Super chat it if you want us to read it now.
Hold on. Oh,
you're not the boss of the show, Flyers hockey. We'll save it for next show. We'll see you in the chat.
Well, it's what we talked about. I brought up Robert Thomas. So
we talked about it. Go back and listen. Or show up for the next episode.
Yeah, if they're available, we should be in on all these kind of players. Anybody who's got a contract who we can sign to an extension. These are all players in need that somewhat fit the timeline. All for it.
All right, let's get the read going. Let's pay the bills.
Oh, shit. That's right. All right, Jimmy, I'm ready. You ready?
Ready.
All right, here we go. All right, guys, quick timeout because if you're a diehard Philly fan, you need to hear about this. Fans of Philly is the ultimate way to hit the road with the Birds, the Flyers, the Phillies, or even the Sixers. We're talking full travel packages, your hotel, your transportation, and yes, the tailgates that are basically legendary at this point, all taken care of for you. No stress, no scrambling for tickets, no worrying about where you're staying. You just show up, throw on your jersey, and enjoy the ride with your fellow diehard Philly fans. So whether it's flying out to see the Eagles take over an opponent's arena, cheering on the Flyers in enemy territory, or making it a full weekend getaway for the Phillies and Sixers games, Fans of Philly has you covered. Trust me, this is the closest you'll get to feeling like one of the players when they roll into town because the takeover is real. So check them out Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and start planning your next Philly sports road trip today. That's Fans of Philly, PHFansofPhilly.com, where every away game feels like a home game.
And I can't get this thing off the screen.
Oh,
even though I've been waiting the whole time to do it. There we go.
Oh, no.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Man, I didn't expect to go 90 minutes tonight, but we did.
Oopsie daisies.
A lot of topics to get to. We said it was going to be a roller coaster of a show. A lot of highs, a lot of lows. Flyers at Buffalo tomorrow night. Yeah. So it should be an interesting game. I don't know. Does the team get fired up after firing the GM? We'll see. But hopefully it doesn't happen against the Flyers tomorrow night. All right. So we're going to wrap this episode up. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, this 90-minute mammoth episode, our like goal for the episode was on 100 likes. If you can help us reach that goal, greatly appreciate it. And we're still on the quest for 2,000 YouTube subscribers. I think we're like 30, 35 away, which we didn't expect. We made a lot of headway in the last week or so. So we really appreciate that. Welcome to all the new subscribers. And we're going to wrap up this episode tonight. Once again, you can find us as a podcast anywhere you get your podcast, especially on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and make sure you watch us on YouTube. For Jack, I'm Jim. Don't forget to keep it high, keep it wide. We'll see you next time on HW Hockey. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching HW Hockey. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.